Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another of my Romero installments. A very short one this time, but it had been a while since I covered Land of the Dead, and while working my way through what I believe are the final two films of his zombie films, I wanted to first revisit the remake of Dawn of the Dead, which came out in 2004. Now, though this is a remake of the 1978 film of the same name, let's just check out this synopsis, just in case. And it reads, a nurse, a policeman, a young married couple, and other survivors of a worldwide plague that is producing aggressive, flesh-eating zombies take refuge in a mega Midwestern shopping mall. So we get the mall like we had in the original. But other than that, well, let's talk about the movie a bit first before making any direct comparison. So we have a very kind of soft start here as this nurse is working late, dealing with some kind of like strange incoming patients. We're just kind of setting the seed in the background there. And, she's heading home ready to zonk out for the night and everything. But by morning, things are getting kind of nasty. And she very quickly needs to kind of up and run and get the heck out of there, eventually meeting up with our other characters mentioned in the synopsis at this mall. There's still dangers there, of course, needing to be kind of cleared out of any possible zombies, make sure it's fortified, find food and water, any medical supplies and so on, as others are also starting to show up at this mall to seek refuge as well. Now thrown into the mix is another character that is stuck on a roof, kind of like across the way there, surrounded, but they have a lot of guns and everything. So they have been periodically trying to check in with him, see if they could find a way to rescue him and get more of those guns to help defend themselves as well. Because eventually they do want to, just kind of make a run for it and get out of this mall so they can get to a boat and sail off to an island, which will hopefully bring them to safety. Now, for the most part, this is, standard about our group dealing with isolation and survival, infections, and so on. Standard zombie fare, but still a lot of fun, especially with the addition of this pregnant woman and what will happen with that whole situation, trying to give birth during this zombie apocalypse, not to mention people getting bitten or infected here and there, kind of waiting to see what happens with them and how they are going to have to deal with them. But also this real asshole character played by Ty Burrell, who I've always thought looks like and acts like, in this film at least, a mix between this asshole that I used to work with, who I wish I could Eternal Sunshine him out of my brain to make room for better people, and the devil himself. So we do have some interesting characters here. But also, one of the things that I enjoyed was at the beginning of this, we are starting with a very safe suburban start. It's kind of helped to set us in this very comfortable feeling before the panic. And honestly, this film is also shot very well. It's very polished, and though there is some CG, just littered throughout it, none of it stood out as being too much for me when I noticed it, or it didn't really happen often enough. There was still a decent blend, especially for something in the early 2000s where they were just throwing CG at pretty much every horror film, it felt like. But comparing this one to the original, which I did a video for a little while back, so I will link to that video at the end if you haven't seen this one, so be sure to stick around for that. But yeah, compared to the original, we do have some, really major changes. Aside from a very different set of characters, it feels more like a random start to a zombie apocalypse, rather than it being the dawn after a Night of the Living Dead, whereas Dawn of the Dead, it felt like this direct follow-up to Night of the Living Dead. What's happening that next morning as we are kind of thrust into this newsroom, showing everybody trying to figure out what's going on and how to deal with it. So we don't have that aspect to it. It just kind of starts on its own. We don't have as big of a part with anything to do with raiders, which in the original had provided a lot of humor and just an interesting situation for those in the mall. We also don't have, the helicopter stuff and helicopter escape, as well as we don't seem to focus as much on the isolation and boredom of being stuck in that mall. It just wasn't as much of a factor. There were many differences. But honestly, I feel like the only similarities to that original here were that we had zombies and we were in a shopping mall. And that was about it. But looking at these both, the remake and the original, I think the major differences in this remake were the right way to go. Instead of trying to just mimic what was already done in a movie that still holds up well and is more than watchable, make it obviously inspired by that original, but really trying to be its own thing for like 95% of it, which still delivers some zombie fun and was definitely worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my latest very quick video here for Dawn of the Dead from 2004. I enjoyed this one a bit more than Land of the Dead, actually, though this one also has Boyd Banks in it, so it's kind of interesting when I recognized him. But while I didn't enjoy it as much as the original, it is still better than one of the other installments that I've already checked out. I took notes for it, but I haven't made a video yet, because those final 2 Romero zombie films, I'm going to kind of like lump those into one video once I get around to seeing that second one. So if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon to get notified for when I put up that new video. And also, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. We got some links coming in just a moment. Thanks again for coming by, and I will see you in the next one.